So, I just got back from watching Spider-Man Brand New Day, and here's how I feel. So, today's Saturday, August 1st, as of recording this, and we just got home from seeing Spider-Man, and it was a good movie. It's great. We will do a spoiler-free section for anybody who wants to hear my thoughts and opinions about the movie without having everything spoiled, and then we will go into spoiler sections and talk about very specific stuff that I did or did not like. Yeah, so when it comes to just seeing this movie without trying to give any spoilers, I think this is a good MCU movie. I don't think that it is as hype or on the same level of some of other MCU films specifically, and I'm not saying that this movie has to be on the level of these other movies because it's not these other movies, but it wasn't as hype and as big as Infinity War, and it wasn't as big either the first one or Endgame. And it's not as big as No Way Home, in my opinion. This movie is a solid like 7.5 for me, where it's a good movie, but there's some stuff in here that I just wasn't a huge fan of, and I'm trying to think. This movie is very good Spider-Man stuff going on. When Tom Holland is Peter, he's doing a lot of the stuff that you want to see Peter do. He's quipping, he's swinging around, and it's a lot of fun that way. But other than that, I mean, the villain of this movie, it's kind of like a twist thing that you find out, and I mean, you could kind of see it that, it's not a most unpredictable twist of all time or anything like that. But yeah, this movie, a lot of times I find it hard to explain a movie without doing spoilers because there's so many specific things that change how you feel about the movie. But I think for the most part, like I said with Odyssey, you're going to enjoy your time in the movie theater. You're not going to absolutely hate your experience or anything like that. And when it comes to MCU fans or people that are keeping up with this, the Marvel timeline and all that shit going on, the Marvel universe, I think this is definitely important. This is probably setting up stuff that has to do with Doomsday for the most part. So I think this is definitely an important movie to see, but it's like it's okay. It's okay. It's hard to really go about it. I think I'm just gonna jump into spoiler stuff here. We're about 2 minutes in, and yeah. So if you're a fan of the MCU, you probably already went to see this movie or are planning on it. If you're not big in the MCU but you really like Spider-Man, this is another good one. But a lot of it kind of has to do with the MCU. So if you just like Spider-Man and you want to go see a Spider-Man movie, there's going to be a lot of stuff that maybe doesn't make sense to you. But it's still good. It's still enjoyable. A lot of the Peter stuff is still good. All right, spoiler time. So, I just want to get all out like this movie wasn't as hype and as exciting as I thought it was going to be. I have a few complaints, and I don't know if I should necessarily do the complaints first because I don't know exactly how I feel about all of it as a whole. If that makes sense. Because some of the parts in this movie are very good. I think there's certain things that this movie does extremely well, and other things that other Spider-Man movies or other MCU movies do a lot better. But okay, let me do specifics. Okay, things I like about this movie. Okay, I think a lot of the emotional stuff works here for me, in my opinion. I think Peter's relationships with other characters in this actually made me feel some kind of way. For example, Peter and MJ. I recently watched all of the Spider-Man movies with Ariel, and I came to the consensus that the MC Zendaya's MJ, Tom Holland's MJ, whatever you want to say, the MCU MJ is actually not as bad as I remember her being, and that especially stands out in this movie. I really like Peter and MJ's connection in this movie. I think it's really good, and I was hoping and rooting for them. And there's a really good emotional stuff there, but there's also good emotional stuff between Peter and Ned. Basically, Peter just missing out on the life that he wishes that he could have with MJ and Ned. But I think that they do it really well. Again, this is spoilers, so I'm going to say specifics. The fact I like the way that they do Peter becoming friends with MJ and Ned, because I feel like Peter and Ned are such good friends that you could have had And also Ned is a huge fan of Spider-Man. So you could have had Peter really need Ned for something and be like, "Hey man, can you help me out? I'm Spider-Man, whatever." And then that would have set up Ned and Peter being like becoming friends, and then Peter could have used him being friends and being around Ned to try to talk to MJ and then get that relationship back. But what they do is they actually have MJ and Peter end up talking and building this relationship. You end up having Peter and MJ kind of reuniting and talking and figuring stuff out about each other. Or, I mean, more of MJ figuring out the past stuff with Peter and all that. And then she acts as a way in for Peter to become friends with Ned. And I think that that's really good. I think that instead of, they could have made it really simple where Peter and Ned are friends super easily because Ned is a huge fan of Spider-Man, and then therefore that allows Peter to end up talking to MJ, but they didn't do that. Also thought that the stuff with Aunt May was really good, and especially how it tied into Jean Grey. I thought that Jean kind of hearing the words that Aunt May said to Peter and kind of taking it to heart and really liking that, and that's why she is like became friends with Peter right there at the end of the movie. I thought that that was really good. I liked a lot of that emotional stuff that this movie tries to do. Other things I liked, this movie looks cool. There's a lot of cool scenes where they show perspective. One's like a couple that I have in mind is when Jean is inside of MJ's head on top of the roof when she's backing up slowly and she backs up to where that big red neon sign is hitting her on the face, and the way she's talking, it's kind of sinister. At that point in the movie, you don't know that it is Jean Grey who is doing it. But so she's talking and like she's kind of like evil sounding because at the point Jean Grey is the villain of the movie, and she slowly walks off the back of the, or like walks off the building, and as Jean Grey leaves, MJ's face isn't illuminated by the red neon sign. I thought that was really cool. There's another scene where Peter shows up at the damage control building and he looks up and it shows how tall it is. And I think that that was really good because they established that this building is like huge, like it stands out where it is. Like it's so tall and it's like it looks unique. So when you see it throughout the rest of the movie, either getting destroyed by Hulk and Peter and everything that's going on in there, you understand how high off the ground that they are. And yeah, I think and there's another scene where Peter is fighting the hand and he like shoots up and like sticks to the ceiling, and so the camera flips and you're with Peter and he's doing stuff upside down. I thought that that was really cool. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in this movie. I think it's really good. Now, this is where I'm 50-50. This isn't something a dislike or a complaint that I had. These are just kind of things that I don't exactly know where I land on them yet because they're very hit or miss. The comedy in this movie. The Punisher, John Bernthal, he is a big part of this movie. He is a large, like a much larger part than I thought. He isn't like integral, but he helps out a lot and it has a lot of screen time, and I like that. I enjoy having Tom Holland or Peter Parker and Frank, but there's a couple times where Frank makes a joke and it feels very out of line for him. And I understand that it's a Spider-Man movie. You're not going to have Frank Castle on the level of the Punisher TV show. I hold the first season of the Punisher TV show in like very high regards as like some of the best TV I've ever seen in my life. And so seeing Frank in a Spider-Man movie, I am not expecting him to get beat to death or be a prisoner who's incredibly bloody, who's killing people and telling people to go fuck themselves. I'm not expecting that. But there's a couple of jokes in here, specifically the chili one, when he said, "Oh, I made some chili. You like chili?" That felt out of line. Now, there's a couple of times in this movie where I think that Frank makes jokes that are in line with his character. So I know that some people are going to be like, "Damn, bro, you have to pick a side. Like, do you like the jokey Punisher? Or do you want the serious one?" I think that you can make the Punisher lighthearted with keeping him who he is. But like, you don't have to. I don't know. It's hard to explain. The one joke that I like am harping on is the chili line. I made chili, you want chili? I don't like that. That doesn't seem like something that he would do. I'm not saying he wouldn't make chili, but being like he just that just doesn't feel like what he would do. But the literal next line, he goes, "All right, well, watch out for claymores. I don't want to be picking you up off for the rest of the weekend or something like that, picking up the pieces or whatever." And I think that that is something that is more in line. He's being genuine, saying, "Hey, watch out for the bombs I have planted around the building. I don't want to clean you up." That is a little more in line with a Punisher joke. Not that Punisher makes jokes, but if you're going to have him make jokes, that feels a little more in line than, "Oh, what, you want chili? I made chili." I understand that it's a weird thing for me to get like caught up on. I understand that. I know that it's like you have to pick one. Either he can joke or he can't, and I'm in the middle where you can, but some jokes go too far for me. Like there's another joke where it's when they're in the tower and they're fighting against the Hulk, and Frank says something about MJ mention your name, or he said I should protect you or whatever, and Peter goes, "Wait, she wants me to be safe, or she wants you to protect me or whatever." Like he goes, "Did you just blush, Daffodil?" That was funny. I like that. I like that line delivery because it's like it's not like a MCU joke. It's kind of just like a, "Oh, sunshine, are y'all flustered?" kind of thing. Like it feels like a hardened military man just kind of giving you a little bit of shit, and that's what Frank is. So I don't know. I don't know. This movie is good, but there's some parts where I was just like, I don't know how I'm feeling. All right, let's jump to the next part. Jean Grey. She doesn't feel like Jean Grey. I don't know. I like Sadie Sink, and I like, maybe it's because I see her as Max from Stranger Things, but in this movie, she doesn't have a lot of things that make her feel like Jean Grey. Maybe it's the lack of other X-Men, but like, she just feels like a villain that can possess people, not really a telepath because throughout the movie she is controlling people and jumping to people and taking control of their body, which that is something that telepaths can do. I'm a big X-Men fan, but I'm pretty sure Jean is able to like float shit and do cool things. Like she's not helpless, and her power isn't possession of other people. So I feel like making her the villain in this movie was kind of bad, in my opinion. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like you could have done something else, maybe. Like, I thought that, I know that he's specifically in the games, or for the most part, what I know him from is from the games, but I thought that it was going to be Mr. Negative. From the trailers that we saw, a person that's able to jump between person to person, I thought it was going to be Mr. Negative. I thought that I knew that Jean Grey was going to be in this movie, but I thought she was going to be an end credit scene. I thought it was going to be a big reveal that, oh shit, we're bringing in the X-Men, not, yo, Jean Grey is the bad guy. And of course it doesn't turn out that way. And, but I don't know. She just didn't feel super Jean Grey-y. This is she's the first X-Man in MCU that's like a mainstay character, and she just didn't. I'm not saying she had to show up in the old green and yellow Marvel girl suit, or like show up in a big suit that said fucking X-Men on it or nothing. I don't expect that, but all she had was like a big oversized like brown jacket that just like gave her a hood so she could hide her face. And she didn't feel, honestly, at some points, the way her hair was, like if she wasn't shown to use her powers, she looks like she'd be like if they tried to replace Tobey Maguire's MJ. You know what I mean? And I understand it's the hair color that's making me say that. But yeah, she just didn't feel super Jean Grey to me. The stuff with her sister, I like it as a motivation. She was abandoned by her mom. All she had was her sister. Damage control took her sister and killed her, and now she wants revenge on those people. The damage control people are the bad guys. Also, I think the guy who plays I can't remember his name. He's Milchick in Severance. I think his name starts with a T. I am so sorry. I don't know his name off the top of my head, and I actually feel bad because I think he did really good in this role and him being kind of a villain. But that brings me to a new point. They didn't fucking fix anything. Damage control still exists. The guy that captured Jean Grey and her sister he's still fine. We never got a resolution with that. Another problem I have, Tom or Peter going through this kind of transformation thing, I don't feel like it was a good enough payoff, in my opinion. I thought that they were doing Man Spider or having the way that the trailers made this movie seem is that he is kind of going through a transformation that he doesn't have control of. When his eyes go black and all that really cool stuff where he gets stronger and he gets a little more violent, I was like, oh shit, he's got a transformation. I didn't think it was a symbiote. I didn't think they were going to do Venom in this movie, so I didn't even get my hopes up there. I just thought it was something else. And I talked to Ariel about it, and she was like, well, it's kind of like in Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire, where he loses his powers because he doesn't want to be Spider-Man anymore. You know, he was Spider-Man and his home life or his Peter Parker life was falling apart, so he stopped being Spider-Man and then he started to lose his powers. In this one, he is so much becoming Spider-Man that I forget who says the line. Maybe it's Bruce Banner, maybe it's Punisher, I can't remember who says it, but they say, oh, the spider's trying to take over the man. So I thought, oh shit, it's Man Spider. He's gonna literally be half spider, like he's transforming. But Ariel was like, no, 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 it's more of an identity thing. Because at the end of the movie, Jean Grey asks him, are you Peter Parker or are you Spider-Man? You have to pick one. And he goes, I'm both. And he basically, gets a cool little power up and gets a cool little scene. But I didn't that didn't feel like a good enough payoff to me. I thought they were building up to he is literally physically changing. For example, there's a part where he goes out to the party with MJ. This is another positive that I forgot to mention. They play really good music, like do like needle drops in this, and I think there's a Tame Impala song that they play when he's going to the party, and it's really fucking cool. Or it's really nice. Like I like the music. It was a nice like vibe or whatever. But anyway, he gets home and he has this ringing headache and his head hurts or whatever, and he passes out on the ground. Okay. Eyes go black, passes out on the ground. Then the next time we see him, he is in a cocoon, in a web cocoon on a side of a building in New York. How are you going to tell me that he didn't transform when he passed out and something moved his body? He left the apartment and cocooned himself naked in New York on the building. I thought that he was transforming, but it's more of like an identity thing. Like, is he Peter or is he Spider-Man? He wants to be both. And for the last 4 years, he was just Spider-Man. Now he gets to be Peter. I thought it was the transformation thing. So when he goes, I'm both, and now all of a sudden he's able to just tap into this strength, but he isn't like, doesn't have the headache or the ear ringing stuff. That didn't feel like a solid enough payoff to me. I thought it was going to be a bigger transformation, or maybe it was like Jean had something to do with it. But I don't know. I just didn't really love that. Also, I think the action in this movie is like subpar compared to other Spider-Man movies that we've gotten or other MCU movies, as a matter of fact. It was good. It was fun to see actual enraged Big Hulk. I like that a lot. I thought that was really cool. But just some of the action, besides Spider-Man doing Spidey stuff when it comes to webbing people to walls and like when he is drifting the fucking tank through the city or whatever, or when he's swinging around, enjoy that kind of stuff. But like when it comes to just the regular action of like Spider-Man like fighting and webbing people, it's not that engaging. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I've been more engaged with other MCU movies. But yeah, so I give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. 8 feels a little high, but 7 feels low. And it's good. It's not fantastic or great, but it is good. It is not bad by any means. Let me think if there's any other thoughts that I kind of have or anything that I'm missing. Liza, I can't remember her last name, and again, I'm sorry for being so ignorant to these great actors and actresses that aren't just like A-tier celebrities. But she plays the lady that Spider-Man or Peter's always talking to on the phone about different crime reports and all that stuff, and like he helps her out and stuff. She did great. She did great. I'm pretty sure this is her introduction to the MCU, and I really liked her introduction as a character that kind of is on Peter's side that helps him out. You know what I mean? Oh, okay. I liked Scorpion. I thought Scorpion was really cool, and I liked the action scene between Peter and Scorpion when when his eyes go black or whatever, and he he kind of feels guilty about hitting a police officer with Scorpion and all that stuff. I think the inhibitor stuff is scary. And I say that only because when they talked about, oh, this inhibitor, it allows people to oh, if you use this, you could essentially universally you could control people with this. You could stop them from using their powers. If they're gonna make it to where Peter Parker helped make the anti-mutant like necklaces that stop them from using their powers or whatever, and like Peter's a genuine part of that, and or like they used Peter's technology as a way to figure out how to do. I'm gonna kind of hate that because I don't want Peter to feel guilty about in making an inhibitor. Like I don't really like that, but I liked it for what it was in the movie. But yeah, so again, I like the emotional stuff in this movie. Some of the comedy lands for me pretty hard. I think that Black Widow was completely fucking unnecessary. Ariel said that this is the setup, the bridge movie into Doomsday. This is their last movie before Doomsday, so they're trying to set up where everybody is. It's like Black Widow is leading the new Avengers, right? So Peter has to talk to the new Avengers so that we see the kind of thing, basically the new Avengers or Black Widow saying that we don't work on small scale problems. Basically, we don't want to help because it's not as big as we think it should be, or whatever. I just thought her inclusion wasn't important. And also, she's there for comedy relief or whatever, calling Peter like, oh, the sad boy, whatever. The movie Thunderbolts that she is like the main character of is about how these characters all have PTSD and trauma and depression from the shit that they've gone through. Why is she like comedy relief? Because again, Frank is comedy relief. You don't need Black Widow to be in there and also making fun of Peter for being sad, even though her whole thing is that she's fucking depressed. I don't know. It kind of sounds like I didn't like this movie as much as I'm saying, but I promise I enjoyed my time. I did like it. And then okay, I will give you another joke or another thing that actually made me laugh that I liked. At the end, after Peter is shot by the Punisher, and when he wakes up in the hospital and Frank is in there, I like that emotional moment between them because Frank feels guilty for shooting him, and even though their ways of going about it he doesn't agree with, he understands that Peter's a good kid and he didn't want to hurt him and all that stuff. So I like that inclusion, and him at the end putting on the Spider-Man mask and like dancing in the window for all the kids to cheer. I thought that was actually, it made me laugh, and I actually enjoyed that moment because it is maybe a little out of Punisher's realm of seriousness. He might not, but him like doing his like Punisher grunt while doing it for Peter. It's like I liked it. I liked it. For the best character, I'm probably gonna have to give it to Peter. And this is obvious because he's the main character, and I'm not against giving it to the main character if they're absolutely way better than the rest, or written better or done any better. But I think for the characters that I really like for this movie, it's definitely Peter, MJ, and Ned. Their like relationship together. But I just don't want to give it to like Frank or Jean because I just don't feel like they're as strongly written as they could have been. Like Jean makes sense for her motivation, but that doesn't necessarily make you on her side. And also Frank, his character is kind of wishy-washy, so I'm not really sure. But yeah, so it'll go to Peter. I wanted to kind of give it to MJ, but I think that the reason that MJ is so good is because her relationship with Peter, and I think Peter is the best, like is the driving force of the movie. So we will give him the best character award for this movie. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on this movie. I do want to talk about this movie, but I don't think it's bad. It's hard to rank it when it comes to other live action Spider-Man movies. Like this is better than Spider-Man or The Amazing TASM 2. This is better than probably TASM 1 in my opinion. I'm not big on those movies personally. I don't love those movies. It's not better than Spider-Man 2 with Tobey. It's not better than No Way Home. It's definitely better than Far From Home. It's probably equal to Homecoming, like about equal to Homecoming, maybe a little bit better. And It's probably not as good as Spider-Man 1 in my opinion, and probably less better than Spider-Man 3. Like, I don't know. Please, let's talk about this movie. I hope you guys have a good day.